Rodgers is staying. I don't want to hear it. He is staying in a Packers uniform for this season. He's staying. Hello folks, today I'll be doing my NFC predictions of the NFL. So what I'll be doing in my video is like my last video of ranking them in each division of 4th all the way to 1st place, and I'll pick the winners of the division and who gets to go to wild card, and then I'm going to make another video from the AFC of who I had in my previous video making the playoffs and combine that with my NFC playoff predictions to combine as one to make an NFL playoff prediction video. So stay tuned for that. So to start things off, I'll be going through the worst division in the NFL, which is the NFC East. It was one of the worst divisions, and it's still one of the worst divisions in the NFL. So coming in 4th place of the NFC East will be the New York Giants at 5-12. The Giants re-signed Williams this past offseason. They let one of their good defensive linemen leave. They still need more improvement on the defense. I like to see them get better in the secondary and other positions. Even though they got James Bradbury in the secondary, I would still like to see the Giants defense step it up a little bit more. Even though I think they're going to be good, they need to step it up a little bit more to help out Daniel Jones so they can bail him out sometimes, but still. They also signed Kenny Galladay from the Detroit Lions, which is a great move for the Giants because Daniel Jones needs more weapons, even though he has Evan Engram and Saquon Barkley, and they also drafted Kadarius Toney. So the Giants have wide receivers now. They got weapons. The one thing I don't like about the Giants is their offensive line. Their offensive line has been terrible the last few years. It has made Daniel Jones worse, not helped Saquon Barkley. It has not helped Saquon Barkley. It made him get hurt last year because the Giants didn't address it. So the Giants need to fix their O-line. If they can fix their O-line and Daniel Jones can step it up, then the Giants team is going to do good if they can compete with other NFC teams like the Packers, Washington football team in their division, and Dallas Cowboys, and the NFC West, and the Buccaneers. So the Giants have got to find offensive line, fix it somehow, and Daniel Jones has got to step it up because he's got all the weapons. All Daniel Jones has to do is just do his job. Does his job, Giants are going to be good, but I don't see that happening because of the offensive line. On to 3rd place of NFC East will be the Philadelphia Eagles at 6-11. So the Eagles got their number 1 wide receiver in the offseason, Devontae Smith, who can be good if he pans it out for the Eagles, which the Eagles have not done well at wide receiver since the Super Bowl. The Eagles, they got to do a better job at finding their wide receiver. But other things they did was trading Carson Wentz to the Indianapolis Colts. They wanted to free up some cap. They didn't think Wentz was going to pan it out more for the Eagles, so thought it best was just to get rid of him. And they also fired Doug Pearson, brought in a new head coach, Nick Sirianni. They also drafted O-lineman in the draft to eventually replace Jason Kelce because Jason Kelce's getting up there with his age, but he's still dominant in his position, and it's only a matter of time before Kelce retires. Signing Anthony Harris from the Minnesota Vikings, which I thought that was a good deal for 1 year because he was a Pro Bowler. So with the Eagles getting him for a 1-year deal, I think that's a steal for the Eagles. They also signed Joe Flacco as a backup for Jalen Hurts can learn a little bit from him since Flacco has Super Bowl experience, so that's good for the Eagles. The thing I don't like about the Eagles is they don't stay healthy at all, really, because they get hurt every year, especially that offensive line, which they need that offensive line to stay intact because it helps protect Jalen Hurts, helps Miles Sanders out, and gives Hurts more time to do whatever he wants by making plays. Their secondary. I don't like that secondary at all because they were very bad last year, especially Darius Slay. He was an average CB. He's not that elite CB he used to be with the Detroit Lions, but I think the Eagles defense needs to address the secondary. That secondary can be good, and the offensive line can be good, and Jalen Hurts takes another step into his career, then the Eagles are going to do great. But I don't see that happening because Eagles, you got to figure it out with Hurts. Offensive line, you got to protect him, and that secondary, you got to step it up. Come on. On to 2nd place is the Washington football team at 11-6. They did good in the offseason, I would say. They addressed the offensive line by franchise tagging Chef. They drafted Cosme in the 2nd round, so it helps protect their quarterback. They signed William Jackson III to replace Ronald Darby in that secondary, so I think that's a steal for the Washington football team to make it so much better, that defense, to make it a top 5 at least, I would say. They got offensive weapons to add to Terry and Gibson, and to help the quarterback, like they signed Curtis Samuel, who's good in the slot and knows Rivera's scheme when they were together in Carolina. Alex Smith retired, so he was great for the Washington football team last year, even though he got hurt from coming back from his injury. And that injury that almost put him out of his career, but he came back, so it was great for him. So they signed Fitzmagic as their quarterback. Fitzmagic has his moments, and he doesn't have his moments. When he's doing great, Fitzmagic is on a roll. When he doesn't, he doesn't. So he's inconsistent. If he's consistent, he's either bad or he's good. All Fitzmagic has to do is just learn the scheme, use his weapons right, does his job. Does that, Washington football team can win the division. So Washington football team, they're gonna have a good season. Then coming at number 1, winning the NFC East will be the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, not at 12-5. So basically in the offseason, what they did was sign Dak Prescott to an extension to help commit to the franchise quarterback, and he's coming back from his injury from last year, and I see him doing very good for the Cowboys. They addressed defense in the draft by taking Micah Parsons from Penn State, the linebacker. That linebacker position for the Cowboys had been struggling because of injuries with Lane Vander Esch and Jalen Smith. That will help the Cowboys defense out in the linebacker, but they still lack secondary, which they did not address. I don't like the secondary. The defense is not going to be good when the offense is going to be loaded and carrying them. The defense has got to fix that secondary. If they fix that secondary, it's going to be very good defense. But on the offense, they got weapons. They got the quarterback. They got a loaded offense. They got Zeke, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Dak Prescott, Michael Gallup. The Cowboys offense is going to be pretty good, and they have a good offensive line too. So it's just the defense. Can the defense finally step it up after hurting this team for several years? Because this defense has not helped them out, and it has made them get hurt in the playoffs and the regular season. So all the Cowboys have to do is get that secondary fixed, and then they're good. Cowboys are winning the NFC East, and we'll have to see where they go in the playoffs. Not that far though, is what I'm going to say. Then moving on to the NFC North, coming at number 4 I have is the Detroit Lions at 2-15. They're going through a rebuild basically because they traded their franchise quarterback away, Matthew Stafford, who's underrated I would say. He got traded away to the Los Angeles Rams for exchange for Jared Goff and 2 first-round picks. I think that's a good deal for the Lions to get draft capital, but I don't think the quarterback was right. Then the Lions got a new head coach, Dan Campbell, who I don't think is going to be the right guy for the Lions, and we'll have to go through another rebuild, but this is just the rebuilding years for the Lions because they traded away their quarterback and they're trying to fix their offensive line. So what they did in the draft was draft Penei Sewell, an offensive lineman from Oregon. He's going to be pretty good for the Lions to help that offensive line be better and help protect Jared Goff. They also signed Brockers from the Rams, who's a good defensive lineman. But the thing about the Lions is they lack offensive weapons and the defense isn't good. The offensive weapons, they just lost Marvin Jones and Kenny Galladay. Those guys were pretty good for the Lions and they just left, so that's not good. They only have DeAndre Swift, TJ Hawkinson, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. That is it for the Lions' offensive weapon. That is not good. You need more offensive weapons so you can help Jared Goff. And Jared Goff likes to throw to his tight ends, so TJ Hawkinson is going to have a good fantasy year, but not the rest of his offensive weapons. So it's not good for the Lions. Then another thing about the Lions is their defense. That defense is very bad. Very bad. The defense rarely shows up for the Lions. Basically, the Lions don't have a defense, don't have offensive weapons. Their offensive line still getting a rebuild, but they got good with Swell. Their whole trust goes into Jared Goff. Would you really trust Jared Goff to help you win a Super Bowl? I would not trust Jared Goff to help me win a Super Bowl. So Lions, it's gonna be a fun time going through another rebuild. Moving to third place of the NFC North will be the Chicago Bears at 7-10. Bears are Bears. They're not good. Double doing. Double doing. What the Bears did in the offseason was address offensive line, which was good for them. They got their quarterback successor, Justin Fields. Their defense is good except the cornerback position because they lost Kyle Fuller to the Denver Broncos. And that defense is getting old. They've been good for a couple years and elite. Just keep that in mind. Then the offense, they have weapons. They have Allen Robinson, Darryl Mooney. They just need the quarterback that they've been trying to find since '85 when they won the Super Bowl. Because they've not found the right quarterback. That's not good for the Chicago Bears. You've had elite defenses over the years, but you never found the quarterback. That's pretty bad. And the head coach, I don't know how he's still on this team, but he needs to go, Matt Nagy. He's done terrible. Nagy has got to step it up. He is on the hot seat for the season, and this is make or break it for him. He's either gone or he's staying another year. I don't see him staying long with. And then another thing was the Bears signed Andy Dalton as their quarterback. He will not be your savior of winning a Super Bowl. He's just not gonna do that. He could have maybe years ago, but he's not gonna do it now since he's not the same guy he was. He's not. So the Bears found their quarterback, but they have Nick Foles, the guy they're paying a lot of money to, that they traded for, Andy Dalton, and Justin Fields. That is a great quarterback position. Trying to find find some guy. It's not good at all. You could have Nick Foles, the guy who won the Super Bowl years ago with the Philadelphia Eagles, but he might not be the same guy he was. They got Justin Fields, who Justin Fields is going to do well in the NFL. I see him doing, and he just needs time and development with this team. If he learns the scheme and learns the playbook, then he's going to do great with the Bears. All the Bears need is their quarterback. If they get the quarterback, then they're good. They're going to be fighting for the NFC North. So that's the thing you got to watch out for is Justin Fields. But this Bears team is not going to do it this year because Justin Fields might not start halfway through the season, so that could hurt the Bears a little bit. That's why I put him at 7-10 and put him at third place of the NFC North. On to second place will be the Minnesota Vikings. Skull. Woohoo. Skull. Yikes. I hate that. At 8-9. They are a wild card team. They either do well or they don't do well. The Vikings have everything they need. It's just they're inconsistent. If they were consistent, they'd be doing pretty well, but they're not. So what they did in the offseason was clear some cap space by getting rid of Kyle Rudolph, their tight end. They addressed defense, which that defense wasn't that great last year. It was ranked one of the worst in the NFL. One of the worst, which they're usually pretty good, but they weren't last season. So they signed David Tomlinson, defensive tackle from the New York Giants, which is a good move because he was pretty good with the Giants last season. They also got Patrick Peterson in secondary, who I don't see Patrick Peterson being a very good CB in that secondary because he's not the same guy he was with the Arizona Cardinals. He wasn't. I don't trust the Vikings secondary to do well at all, like last season. Again, one of the worst. But they fixed the offensive line again, so that was good. So they helped protect Kirk Cousins because Kirk Cousins has weapons. Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, who's one of the top 3 running backs in the NFL, I would say, but that's debatable. What the Vikings need is just to be consistent and Kirk Cousins to do his job right, which he did sometimes last season. He was inconsistent, as I said before. So it's just the team has to be consistent. You're either good at winning or you're good at losing. That's the thing. Because they have the defense, and that defense needs to step it up a lot better because that defense is not the same it was last year. And the offense has got to do their job. They have everything they need, really. It's just the Vikings got to do their job. And I think Mike Zimmer is on the hot seat this season. If it doesn't pan out well for the Vikings, I can see him get fired. So Vikings, I don't see them doing well because they're inconsistent and their secondary is not that good. Then taking home the crown, the NFC North from the frozen tundra will be the Green Bay Packers at 13-4. 13-4. And that is with Aaron Rodgers, not Jordan Love. If it was with Jordan Love, it would not be that. It would be a wild card. But we're going for Aaron Rodgers, and I'm staying with Aaron Rodgers being a Packer. So the Packers didn't really do much in the offseason. The only thing they did was re-sign guys and draft guys. They re-signed Alan Lazard, Robert Big Bob Tonyan, Aaron Jones, Showtime, Kevin King, yikes. Picked up a 5-year option for Jair Alexander, pretty good. The only thing I didn't like about the Packers this past offseason was not addressing defensive line. They left Corey Linsley to go. He wanted big money, high pay money, and he got that with the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Packers didn't have the money to give him. We didn't have the money. In the draft, which I liked what they did in the draft, was go after a CB, Eric Stokes from Georgia, to help learn from Kevin King and Jair Alexander. That is going to be great, and I see Eric Stokes being a good lockdown CB in later years, so I'll be great secondary for years to come. Then they got a center, Josh Myers from Ohio State, and he was pretty good at Ohio State, and Corey Linsley came from Ohio State, so Packers like to draft Ohio State centers because they do pretty well for them. Then they got a wide receiver, Amari Rodgers from Clemson, who reminds me a lot of Randall Cobb. And if you go back and watch Randall Cobb and Aaron Rodgers together, they were a great duo, and that could happen again. Then they also brought a new defensive coordinator. They got rid of Mike Pennington this past offseason. They brought in Joe Barry, the linebackers coach from Los Angeles Rams. So it will be good to watch what he does of his scheme because he was part of the best defense in the league last year. So it would be nice to watch what he does, and hopefully he makes that solid defense into elite defense. Hopefully. Then the Packers offense. They were ranked number 1 in scoring last year. That's pretty good. With Rodgers winning MVP, but the Packers' offensive weapons are pretty good. Robert Big Bob Tonyan, Alan Lazard, Aaron Showtime Jones, MVS. If he can catch the ball, he's going to be good. Devontae Adams, best receiver in the NFL. AJ Thunderthigh Dillon. Then the Packers' offensive line is still great, even though they lost Ray Linsley. They got best left tackle in the NFL, David Bakhtiari, even though he's going to be injured and may miss a few games in the season to start. Then they have Elgin Jenkins, the best versatile offensive lineman in the NFL. Then they have the rookie Josh Myers, might start at center, or they might have Lucas Patrick starting. So we'll have to see with that. And they also have Billy Turner, who's also solid at right tackle. So once David Bakhtiari comes back, it will fix the offensive line itself. Then the thing about this team is the NFC Championship games. They've lost 4 in the last decade. They won a Super Bowl in the last decade, which is good, but it wasn't good when we lost 4. There were blowouts, 2 of them, and close ones, and the other 2. So it wasn't fun watching that, especially as a Packer fan. Wasn't fun. But hopefully they turn it up, win the conference championship, finally get to Super Bowl. Hopefully that happens. Then moving on to the NFC South. At number 4 will be the Atlanta Falcons at 4-13. The Falcons hired a new head coach, the Titans offensive coordinator. They gave Matt Ryan new toys to play with, and they got rid of the best Falcons player, Julio Jones, to the Tennessee Titans. They didn't improve the defense, which is bad, so that wasn't good because that defense needs to step it up because the Falcons choked so much last year because of that defense. Because they do well on the offense and then they blow it on the defense. So that wasn't good. But some of the new toys that Matt Ryan got were Mike Davis from the Carolina Panthers, who was good when CMC was hurt last year. They drafted Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Florida, who I think will be phenomenal for this Falcons team, and he's going to do great. They also got Jalen Mayfield for offensive line, but the thing about this Falcons team is they need a better defense. And until that defense improves, they aren't going to be good, which is why I put them at 4-13 in the last place of the division. What the Falcons have to do is don't choke. Don't choke. Because you remember what happened in the Super Bowl years ago. 28-3, if that reminds you, Falcon fans. 28-3. So until the defense improves, then you're going to be good. But that's not happening because you're going to choke like last year and the year before that and the Super Bowl. So you're going to choke. Moving on to third place will be the New Orleans Saints at 8-9. Now, the reason I put the Saints at 8-9 in third place because Drew Brees retired. Even though they have Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, I don't trust that at all in the quarterback position. Their best quarterback left. He retired. He was old. Goodbye. Drew Brees, you had a great career. So what they did in the offseason was extend Ramczyk, the offensive lineman. He's pretty good. So they got a pass rusher in the draft to replace Trey Hendrickson because Trey Hendrickson left them and went to the Cincinnati Bengals, who was good for the Saints. Saints are hoping he becomes the next Trey Hendrickson, which we'll have to see about that. The secondary did not improve. It's not good anymore. They need another CB to help out in that secondary, so that's the thing you gotta watch out for the Saints. They have weapons, but who will be leading this team is my question. Will it be Jameis Winston or will it be Taysom Hill? I would rather trust Jameis Winston, the 2020 vision guy who threw 20 touchdowns, 20 picks 2 years ago with the Buccaneers. I'd rather trust him than Taysom Hill because Taysom Hill is not a quarterback in my opinion. He literally does not throw the ball that well and he just runs it and does quarterback sneaks, not a real quarterback. I'd rather go with Jameis Winston. But the Saints team's gonna go through pains from quarterback and try to learn the new scheme with Sean Payton, but I don't think the Saints are going to make the playoffs this year because of that, and they get disappointed in the playoffs every year. So would you want to make the playoffs and get disappointed every year or not make the playoffs at all, Saints? So Saints, they got to improve that secondary. Quarterback has definitely got to improve after seeing your Hall of Fame quarterback leave. If the quarterback position steps it up, they're going to be great, but they weren't last season at the end of the playoffs against their division rival, the Buccaneers, who they defeated and demolished them in the regular season, but did terrible in the playoffs. Can't have that, Saints. You cannot have that. On the second place, we had the Carolina Panther at 9-8. They traded for Sam Darnold to get their quarterback. They addressed both sides of the ball. On the defense, they signed Hasten Reddick, the linebacker from Arizona Cardinals, who was a pretty good tackling machine for the Cardinals. So that'd be good to have him in the defense. They draft J.C. Horn, CB. He's pretty good. And on the offense, they fixed the O-line. They got stacked at receivers, and CMC is back. The Carolina Panthers just need Sam Darnold to improve a lot more. So the Panthers defense is going to step it up. So I think this Panthers defense from what I saw last year was good, but now with the new additions, they're going to be better. So they're not going to be a top 10 defense, but they're going to be a solid defense. So that's a good thing to watch for the Panthers. And then their offense, they got stacked at receivers with DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Terrace Marshall, who was drafted. And they have CMC back, who's a top 3 running back in the NFL. So he's going to be pretty good. He can stay healthy. So basically, the question comes to, can Sam Darnold finally get what he's wanted this whole time of getting weapons, getting help on his team so he can do a whole lot better and make this team go to the playoffs? I don't think this team's going to go to the playoffs, but he wants help. Ever since he's been with the Jets, he's wanted help and never got help, and the Jets finally gave help to the quarterback, but not the Sam Darnold because they traded him away, but he finally gets help. So that's pretty good for the Panthers. Then taking home the crown of the NFC South will be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 14-3. Woohoo. Tom Brady, I hate you so much. They were the Super Bowl champions from last season. So what they did in the offseason was re-sign the whole squad. So we have to see the whole squad again. That's not going to be fun to watch if your favorite team is going to go against them. So the question coming into the season for the Bucs will be, can they hold the throne or will someone take it from them? I don't think they're going to hold it because I know this team's very good, but teams are going to try and figure out a way to defeat them against Todd Bowles' defense and Tom Brady. Tom Brady and the Bucs have got to maintain the throne if they want to rule the NFC. So the Bucs, I think they're going to do pretty well in the season. Then on to the last division of the NFC is the NFC West, best division in the NFL. So coming in at number 4, I have is the Seattle Seahawks at 9-8. Is Wilson going to get along with his teammates, or if he's not? Because that's the question, because he's had a feud with his front office about game protection, because he's been hurt the last couple years of getting hit hard and rough and getting no offensive line help, getting time to throw to his weapons, really. The Seahawks' major need was offensive line, as I just mentioned. They addressed it, but will it work? Because they tried to address it before, and it hasn't panned out well for them at all. That's not good. Another thing about the Seahawks is their CBs left. The Griffin twins, they left, which they were good. Can Chris Carson stay healthy? He's a pretty good running back, but can he stay healthy? Question. And they lack CBs since I just mentioned Griffin's left, so they need to get better defense, and the defense not that good. They haven't been good since the Legion of Boom, and that was the last decade. So Seahawks defense has got to turn it up, and this team cannot be distracted by Wilson's drama with front office. It cannot be a distraction, but I think it will get some people distracted, and the defense is going to hurt the Seahawks. Even though the Seahawks have good offensive weapons, it's still not going to be enough to go against your own division, because they're not a threat in their own division really, and you're not going to be enough to try and make the playoffs at all. So I don't think the Seahawks are going to make the playoffs at all. That's why I have them last in the NFC West. On our third place is the Arizona Cardinals at 10-7. They addressed defense. They signed Malcolm Butler, JJ Watt. They drafted Xavier Collins to help linebacker, so that helped the Cardinals defensive line, but the Cardinals still lack defensive line, so they need help on that. They gave Murray protection by trading for Rodney Hudson from the Las Vegas Raiders to get his center, so this gives Murray more protection and more time to throw, because Murray had run it all around when he had no offensive line at all. But now Cardinals are trying to help him out by gaining protection. And he also got new toys to play with by the Cardinals signing AJ Green, who AJ Green is not the same guy he was before with the Bengals. He's still not the same guy, but he can be good. And they also got James O'Connor from the Pittsburgh Steelers, who he was good, but not last season. The offense is loaded. It's just the defense needs to show up, and Murray needs to take a step forward into his career by having the loaded offense. He's got to do it. So Cardinals, you just got to show up. On the second place is the Los Angeles Rams at 12-5. They traded for their quarterback, Matthew Stafford, including 2 first rounds and Jared Goff. So that was a good deal for the Rams of getting Matthew Stafford, who's underrated. They lost John Johnson and Troy Hill to the Cleveland Browns, who they were good in the secondary for the Rams because they had one of the best defenses last year. They lost their defensive coordinator Staley to the Chargers. The Rams defense fell a little bit, but not that much. They lost their defensive coordinator, yes, but their new defensive coordinator is Raheem Morris. He is pretty good. So as I mentioned before, the defense is still loaded, and it's going to be a top 5 defense, and he's going to make them good. So the offense has weapons like Cooper Kupp, Rob Woods, and now Stafford. With that, he's never had a good weapons. He's never had good weapons except for Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones, but that wasn't good enough until now. He gets his receivers, the offensive line help. Can he step it up? Can he finally do it? Can Matthew Stafford finally carry this team and do well for the Rams? That's my only question, but I think they're going to do pretty good. This defense and Stafford trying to lead this team. Can he do a better job than Jared Goff did, even though Jared Goff led him to the Super Bowl and not winning it, but can Matthew Stafford do better with this Rams team? Then taking home the crown, the NFC West, best division in the NFL, will be the San Francisco 49ers at 13-4. They had a good offseason. They addressed offense, particularly. They addressed the offensive line by re-signing Trent Williams, signed Alex Mack, and they drafted their QB successor, Trey Lance. They signed Wayne Gallman to replace Tevin Coleman and Jeremy Kinnan, so it gives a backup for Raheem. They re-signed their Pro Bowl fullback, so that's good. They also signed Mohamed Sanu, wide receiver, so it gives another weapon for Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance, so we'll have to see who wins the quarterback job for that. But the thing about this Niners team is most of their guys did not play last year. That is why they struggled last year, because they didn't have George Kittle, Boza. Now they get the healthy guys back. They're getting all the guys. Hopefully they're healthy, but they're coming back. So this team's going to look good, especially from the offense side. But can that defense maintain that elite? Especially since Richard Sherman left, and that gives you question in the secondary, who's going to step up and who's do well in the secondary, because that's the only issue I have with the Niners is the secondary and who's going to win the QB job. But my question for the Niners is, can they be Super Bowl bound again? I think they can be, since they have all their guys coming back and they got new weapons, quarterback, and Kyle Shanahan is pretty good. But the other thing was their defensive coordinator left, who was pretty good and went to the Jets, which is a bummer for the Niners. But I think the Niners are going to do well without him still, with that defense. So it's just the Niners find the quarterback and he does well between Jimmy G or Trey Lance. If he can step up, then they're going to be pretty good. And that defense maintaining that eliteness is going to be good. So I see the Niners going to win the division for the NFC West. Alright, so that is all my predictions of NFC East, NFC North, NFC South, and NFC West. All of them. So I'm going to be moving on to my next segment, which is who's going to make the playoffs from the NFC after my predictions. So to start things off, the first seed will be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 14-3. Then the second seed will be the Green Bay Packers at 13-4. Third seed will be the San Francisco 49ers at 13-4. Fourth seed will be the Dallas Cowboys at 12-5. Fifth seed will be the Los Angeles Rams at 12-5. Then the sixth seed will be the Washington Football Team at 11-6. Seventh seed will be the Arizona Cardinals at 10-7. So recap of who's making it will be first seed Bucks, second seed Packers, third seed 49ers, fourth seed Cowboys, fifth seed Rams, sixth seed Washington Football Team, seventh seed Cardinals. And so with all who's going to playoffs for NFC, I'm going to make another video from my previous video from the AFC teams. So I'm going to combine NFC teams that made the playoffs and the AFC teams that made the playoffs, combine it as one, and decide who's going to win the Super Bowl from that. So stay tuned for that. But that is all I got. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'd like to hear your thoughts of what you think of who's going to do well, who you think is not going to do well, who you think is going to be a sleeper. What did you like? What did you not like about my predictions? But please leave a like on this video. And if you like more content, hit that subscribe button below this video. But the NFC is going to be tough this year, especially the NFC West division. That's the best division of football, and you have to watch out for that. So it's going to be hard for some teams to make it to the playoffs because of that division.